Hello everyone, it's Mark from GiraffePad here again, and today I have the distinct pleasure of talking to Dr. Emma Williams of EJW Solutions. Morning, Emma.
Morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Lovely and sunny, so that's always a good thing.
It is gorgeous, isn't it? Yes. So, Emma, you are pretty much in the earliest group of three of our users, signed up right at the beginning of GiraffePad's journey and have been loyal and stuck with us ever since.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, must be about 2.5 years now, which is fantastic.
Gosh, that time has flown. Really
It
has.
has, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels very, very quick. So we've obviously, over the 2.5 years, had various conversations and met up at various trainer talk events, for example, and often talked about GiraffePad. But what would be lovely right now is to hear a little bit more about your business and the work you do and the type of training you deliver and the clients you work with.
Yeah. Excellent. So my business is I work with very clever people who are sometimes a bit dim about their careers. So I work in universities with people who are PhD plus, so all the way from PhD students. We then have a huge raft of people who are on fixed term contracts who do the majority of research in the country, called postdocs. So I work primarily with them. And then we have research fellows. Again, they're on that fixed term. So what they have in common is they've all got short-term research contracts, very, very bright, but sometimes a bit dim when it comes to what they're going to do next. So that's where I come in,
Right.
working on applications, careers, and the things around that that will get them to that next step. So that's my niche,
Yeah, it's
as it
definitely
were.
a niche, isn't it?
It is a niche.
Fantastic niche as well. But so how did you get into the role of doing that support work with them and training and coaching them through their next steps?
So a long time ago, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I've got a degree in physics and a PhD in physics, but I am really normal and very chatty for a physicist. And then I was a postdoc. So I've been there and I've worn the lab coat, I've blown up the kit, everything like that. So I'm coming from a place of empathy with these people. And then when I had my first son, I moved into learning and development almost by accident. It was just a job that I saw advertised locally. We live near Cambridge, the university were hiring. And it was just for ad hoc training. So I got into sort of doing teaching skills for PhD students at that point. And one thing led to another. I had a very persuasive boss. And so to cut a long story short, in about probably 8 years there, I was head of academic staff development at Cambridge, job sharing with another lady. So no one ever decides to be a trainer when they're little. When I was little, I wanted to be a scientist. And now I've sort of come almost full circle. And I think I'm probably more useful to that research community in my role now than I ever was as a research physicist. But don't tell my old boss that.
Isn't it interesting how everyone I talk to, and certainly from my own experience, it very rarely is as a child you say, I'm going to end up in learning development, I'm going to end up
Yeah.
as a trainer. It just seems to somehow happen as part of our career develops. So when did you start your business and how did that come about?
So I started my business in 2009. So I've been in business for 11 years. Touch wood. I doubt my desk is wood, but anyway, touch wood. And what came about was I love being in the training room. That really energizes me, and seeing those light bulb moments happen. And I'd got promoted to being head of the unit in Cambridge. And so I was at home doing all the home, it's a slip, isn't it? I was in the office doing all the appraisals and various other things. Had a brilliant team. They were out doing the fun stuff as I saw it, and I was doing the paperwork. And paperwork does not thrill me with joy. So it took a while to realise that, because I'd taken that next natural step into management, and it wasn't the right one for me. I much prefer being in the training room. And I love all things new. So as it turns out, owning your own business and trying to steer that is full of new and full of challenges. And so I decided to go freelance, but I was very careful about that next step because I didn't want to go autopilot and go, I'll just be freelance. So I did look at other roles. But this one, filled me with the most excitement. Little did I know at that point that it would be, owning your own business it's fantastic at times, and other times you just kind of want to crawl under the duvet. But most of the time, I absolutely love what I do.
Be all encompassing, can't it? That's for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
So, and as I understand it as well, before this sort of current environment we find ourselves in now, you did the majority of your work face to face in
Yes.
workshops. Yeah.
So I think I developed my first online course with the fantastic Jeanette Tessier, probably about 18 months ago now. And that was pre-records, and that was completely new. It was something that I wanted to sort of go into. But that was, it was kind of, it looks all very planned now, but it was more like, it's a new shiny, let's go and try it. So I felt I was a little bit ahead of the curve on pre-records, and I'd use Zoom quite a lot. But pretty much overnight, over the 3 months ago, there was a sort of 2-week gap where some of my university clients were just like, what's going on, like the rest of us were. And then a couple of them went, we're switching to virtual. Can you do it? And it was like, yep, sure. And then you panic afterwards and go, right, how am I going to do this?
What do I let myself in for?
I think it helps being tech savvy. So that physicist in me did come out and want to play with software and get to grips with those sorts of things. So that helped. But yes, so now I've kind of completely switched for the time being. But I think going forward, I know people have thought a lot about their businesses over the past few months. I think going forward, I don't miss the commute. We can do some really great stuff using the virtual environment. In fact, some courses I think are much better that way. I do still miss that buzz and their little side conversations and things like that. But I'm really enjoying that virtual environment. The light bulbs still go on and I still see them. So I'm still getting that fit for me. But courses are much more accessible for people. They can, sort of, if it's pre-records, they can choose when and where they go. We can do smaller ones and use things like GiraffePad in the middle to do some work that supports the course. So it's interesting times. I'm not quite sure where I'll come out in the eventual blend, but less commuting is what I'm looking for at the minute.
No, I can definitely empathise with that. I mean, interestingly, looking at your activity in GiraffePad, you clearly moved a lot online. In the last, I don't know if you realise, in the last 30 days alone, you've invited learners on 400 occasions into GiraffePad.
Gosh,
So,
okay.
yes. So you're busy, Emma. You've clearly translated a lot over, which is fantastic.
Well, I mean, strangely, this is my best June ever.
Oh, interesting.
So the April and May were tracking but below, so they were the same sort of business activity, and June has just exploded, and I think part of that is being ready to deliver virtually, and so kind of as
a little bit ahead of the curve possibly, and that makes me even more grateful to find 30-minute slot in your busy calendar today. So coming back to GiraffePad then, how does that work for you and your business? Because again, you've got such a specific niche that's quite different to a lot of our users. How does GiraffePad work for you?
So even though the people that I work with are very bright, when it comes to where is my Zoom link or where's the document you sent me and all those sorts of things, I was spending a lot of time sort of triaging those types of things. And so inviting people to GiraffePad and having, now it's linked to Zoom, that's fantastic because they literally have to click a button. They don't need passwords or anything else. So that's, simple. I can put resources in there so they can have, any handouts or anything that, they need for the course is there. So once they're in, it's sorted. They do have to log in, they have to create an account, but I don't think, kind of compared to the other barriers of, trying to trawl through emails and various other things, I think it's much better. And I think my use of GiraffePad it's constantly evolving, but it's definitely evolved over the past 3 months. And it's allowed me to do things in a different way. So one example is a fellowship writing course. So they write effectively a personal grant to get more money to do their own research. And it's something that a lot of universities run the course, and usually you turn up with your little bit of paper, and then we pull it apart and we tell you what you did wrong with it. So you're effectively turning up with a stick to beat yourself up with, which, you know, kind of isn't the best learning and development practice, but that was the way they worked, because we got them in a room for half a day. And the virtual world has allowed us to run 2 separate events, so just 90 minutes, so good practice virtual learning, short and snappy. The first one is, here are the tips and tricks, and here's what you need to know about writing, one of those things. They've then gone away, they're all in GiraffePad. I've been able to put them into little groups within GiraffePad so that they feel sort of safe and secure, that only those 4 people are seeing their baby steps into writing. They've then had a template in there that they can download. They've got a link that they can provide each other with feedback. So all that is in there. So I can have a document, I can have a link, I can have pictures, all sorts of things in there. And then they've uploaded their writing. They've been able to access each other's within that little group and give each other feedback. And then they come back on the next session, and we discuss that a bit further, so they can still have that face-to-face feedback. First rule of feedback: don't make anyone cry. And then we've looked at sort of real life applications in the second session. So I think it's much more enabling, especially since some of these people have not done any type of writing like that before. But the combination of virtual learning and having a safe space that GiraffePad is, because I know it's secure and we've got, you know, we can divide up those little groups. It did really work well. I mean, obviously they're bright but dim, so some of them got a little bit lost, but that's all right. They can always contact me through GiraffePad or through my email. So, you know, kind of I can mop up any things that they don't understand. But from running the course point of view and from the feedback that the learners gave me, it was much more useful than the sort of previous iteration.
I love the way that you broke them into smaller groups to work on their areas as well. That little safe space, they're not exposing themselves to 15, 20 other people's feedback, just a small group, which is hopefully part of the flexibility of it. Fantastic. So if I had to put you on the spot, Emma, and say, of all the various different ways you use it and the different things it does, what's the sort of standout feature for you that makes your life easiest or most efficient or best, if you like?
I think I run several events or several training programs that are over 4 or 5 events, and it's being able to keep everything in one place. That is the absolute sort of gem for me. So each event within that sort of program can have its own Zoom link. They can go on, they can find it all, because if you're working over 3 months, the chances of them finding the email that you sent them 3 months ago is minimal. Whereas if they know where to go to find things, it also keeps the conversation going in between sessions. I'm an external trainer. I don't work for the university. So sometimes my emails get caught in spam and various other things. It's hard to keep that conversation going, whereas we have a chat function in GiraffePad, so we can, you know, I can check in between sessions and go, how you doing, you know, kind of what you're thinking and various other things. And I'm also pre-warming to my audience. So my standard GiraffePad question, which I'm going to have to change at the minute, is when they come in, I've preloaded the chat and I've gone, just introduce yourself, tell us what your research is about, and also, because this is GiraffePad, what your favourite animal is. And it's amazing, the favourite animals that come creeping out. We have had a couple of people who love giraffes, so that's all right.
And it was actually World Giraffe Day on Sunday, by all accounts. So
was it?
Hopefully that raises the profile even further. So you're using all the key features really regularly and really well by the sound of it. Is there anything you would like it to do that it doesn't currently do? You know, what would be your dream feature to add into it? And I'm not going to allow you to say make coffee, because you've mentioned that a few times.
Yeah. It's make coffee at the start and make gin at the end.
Yeah,
apart
that would be a dream, wouldn't it?
I hope those are on the list.
Of
But
course, they're on
yeah,
our list.
apart from that, I think what would be helpful is I have to do registers and various other things, especially now. So before, when we were face to face, the client did all that. So, you know, they bring me a bit of paper at the start of the day, everyone would sign in and various other things. I am now largely running the admin for the course. So the ability to sort of produce a register would be, you know, kind of, although it's a very simple thing, you know, kind of it's not the world's most sexiest thing, actually, that would be great. It's like, these people attended, and, you know, kind of being able to just do a little bit around course admin, I think would be, and it's not the world's most sexy thing.
But no, but it's interesting. It ties in, I think, a little bit into where we want to get to with the dashboard in there, and being able to draw reports on learner attendance or participation and everything else, and being able to see what's coming up in your account. So it's certainly in the roadmap. Probably just slightly ahead of the coffee and the gin feature, but that's very, very close as well.
Excellent.
Emma, I'm very conscious of what a busy week you have ahead of you, and I'm so appreciative of your time today to share a bit more about your very niche McNiche business that you run, and the way that you use GiraffePad. And I want to say a big thank you for being with us pretty much through the whole of our journey so far. It's been
I think actually it's been a real key feature to help me sort of navigate these past 3 months, because I've been able to go to clients, look, we can do this, we can put it here, it's safe, it's secure. Because of, you know, initially Zoom was like, oh, it's great, and then it was insecure, and then now it seems back in favor. But the fact that we've got a secure link that they can only get through a course page, I think is, you know, a great comfort blanket. But it's also it's an extra thing that I can add to offer my clients and go, well, you know, I can host it in here, and they're like, oh, that's really good. Especially since everyone's working at home, and a lot of my clients have said they are not going to be in the office till next year.
Really? Wow.
So, you know, kind of being able to take some of the administrative load off them does then mean that I've got, you know, an extra sort of piece to offer them, which, you know, makes you competitive. So yeah, no, I'm very grateful for it. Too, so.
Well, I'm going to look forward to the next 2.5 years of you sticking with us, and when we get the coffee and gin machine in there, we'll celebrate together.
That would be perfect.
Brilliant. Listen, thank you so much, Emma, and really appreciate your time today. And just as a shout out, it's EJW Solutions for Emma's business, isn't it?
Yeah.
And brilliant. Thank you very much, Emma. Speak soon.
Thank you.
Okay,
Speak
bye.
to you soon. Bye.